we touch lives every day. Sometimes you don't realize the significance of what you've done until later on somebody comes back and says, I know you probably don't remember me. That's how they start. But you did so-and-so, and you don't remember. And they'll tell you what you did, where they were, what happened, and they'll tell you, well, I mean, you got me out of the problem that I didn't know what I was going to do. So the ripple effect is you plant seeds, and you do things while you walk this earth. And it sets the stage for somebody else. Kind of cool?
Oh, absolutely.
So, and that's part of what, so out of nowhere, I'm trying to figure out how to pull this off. Along comes Cookie. Right behind the bar. The other one's down this way, and like they got some refreshments down there for you to kick back.
Okay,
right?
all right, thanks.
And we'll get ready to get started. And let me make sure you got the
Chris.
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 All right.
There you go.
Okay, sound good.
That guy's a strong one.
So Daniel Boone was following it from the south to the north, and he crosses over here, and he finds a spring and some really nice soil, and he goes back to the governor of Virginia. We're not a state yet. He tells the governor of Virginia about us. The governor of Virginia sends a couple of surveying teams here. They're tasked with drawing up these 400-acre plots of this area. Well, on the maps that they drew up in 1773 when they arrived back here, on the river where those herds crossed, they put a little X and they wrote Buffalo Trace. So we rebranded ourselves in 1999. We went back to those original maps from 1773 to call ourselves Buffalo Trace. We don't see buffalo out here today. That's where the name actually came from. Two of those surveyors loved this property so much, they decided they wanted to create a settlement here. They were the Lees brothers, and today it's known as the Leestown Settlement. One of the first settlements north of the Kentucky River. And if you read history, the very first thing they did when they built a settlement was they built a still. Wasn't about putting it in bottles and selling it at liquor stores. Moonshining. Every farm was doing it. Every settlement was doing it. So we know they were doing it here in 1773, 1774 time frame. We just don't have that documentation, so we use the date 1786. Now it really stayed a small distillery until about the year 1869. 1869 comes along, a guy by the name of P.H. Taylor Jr. buys this place. Completely different business plan. Sitting on the Kentucky River, I can get it to Ohio, I can get it to Mississippi, I can get it to New Orleans. If I can get it to New Orleans, I can sell it anywhere in the world. I want to build this industrial-sized distillery. So he buys this place for $6,000, and then he invests $72,000 into building this massive distillery. That's a lot of money back then. Today, we're in the middle of a $1.2 billion expansion, and we'll show you some of that, and we'll talk a little bit about it as we go. Somewhere between 1869 and 1886.
Who's the person up front? Who's the kid?
I don't know who any
Oh,
of
you're
them
the
are. No, I don't know who any of them are, but it was good time. Yeah, it was sometime in the late 1800s. Freddie's grandfather came to work here, and he's been working here ever since. I mean, the Johnson family has been. So I tell people all the time, this is like an adult Disney World. Everybody wants to see Mickey, who I call Freddie.
Right.
But today you got stuck with Goofy. I don't beat up on the character, man. I can't help it, because I go out to give a tour today, I'll go, oh, I'm hoping to get Freddie. Guys, everybody is. I get it.
Which one is it? Weller. So all this is Weller. Yeah. Anybody got a cook?
2016, we're actually putting an event center up here. We started digging down to shore up that wall over there to put in an elevator. And we started running in big pieces of glass, and pieces of bricks, and pieces of copper that you normally wouldn't find underground. We stopped what we were doing. We called in a distillery archaeologist, and he came in and did this dig and was able to uncover 4 of the fermentation tanks. To me, it's one of the coolest warehouses. It's made to kind of get an airflow that allows the air to go all the way from the bottom floor up. It's kind of a circular type airflow. We get such unique flavors out of this building here. So some of the bigger buildings, concrete blocks, things like that, you get really consistent flavors. Here you get a lot of really unique type flavors. So.
Old Taylor building down there is only the tip of the iceberg. So remember, this distillery's been around since the 1700s. So it's obvious that you've had ethnic diversity.
Sure.
Right? You don't hear about it. So the family that owns this distillery and our president, Mark Brown, basically they very subtly gone about doing some things that lets people know, hey, we've always been kind of like diverse and mixed and all, and it just blows people away. So that's part of what we're doing. So when I came back to take care of my dad, there's an old cemetery here in Frankfurt. It's actually older than the cemetery that Daniel Boone is buried in. And it's a pauper cemetery. So people thought it was an African American cemetery, but it wasn't. It's just that it got that identification because most African Americans didn't have a lot of money, so that's where they got buried. It's kind of like the way that thing works. Right. But it was a cemetery that existed during the Civil War. And Kentucky was divided. So there are Confederate and Union soldiers buried there. But there are only 4 monuments that are dedicated to the African American soldiers that fought during the Civil War. And Green Hill Cemetery is one of them. It's right here in Frankfurt. People know about Kentucky State University, and very few people know about Green Hill Cemetery. Right. Isn't that kind of crazy? So what happened was, I'm up there with my dad, and he's showing me where my family's buried. My great-grandfather was born a slave, and he married a Blackfoot Indian. I didn't even think about that. You didn't hear about that in school, did you? The family and our president owns this distillery heard about what I was doing. I never told anybody what I was doing. They found out what I was trying to do, and they said, we're going to help you. So the history behind the Freddie soda is $1 out of every case of the Freddie soda goes to a 501c3 that I set up, and we're actually helping to restore historical sites around this distillery and around this area of Kentucky. And that's where Jimmy comes in. So when we're trying to do this, we were trying to get our hands around how big is this cemetery and what have I got myself into. So we were trying to figure out how do we map it and plot it all out. Jimmy is a certified drone operator. Okay? So that's why they're called sipping bourbons, is because if you shoot them, you miss that moment. All right? And if you do that with my pappy, I'm going to grab you by your ankle. I don't care how big you are. I might have to use a step ladder and climb up on it, but I'm going to turn you upside down and make you regurgitate my pappy 2 or 3 times. Just so I can show you what you missed, all right? So that's the first thing, is you only bring it out when you're about to spend some quiet time, some fun time with someone. Right. So watch this. I'm going to show you how this works. So you've seen these professionals do this. They get out that Glencairn glass and they hold it up to the light and swirl it around and look at the ambiance and how it cascades down the side and makes those little legs and all that kind of stuff. And then what do? They gently approach the nose. You've seen them do it. Now think about this. In all your encounters and all your tastings, how many times has anyone ever taken the time to tell you why you should do that. You don't control it. Your body is taking care of itself. What it does is it shuts down one nasal passage. It allows it to re-moisturize itself. It's designed to trap dust and particulates that would normally go into your lungs and be harmful to your body. So that's why sometimes inadvertently your nose just runs for no reason at all. It's your body protecting itself. It's getting rid of something that you need to get out of there. Isn't that crazy? So that's why when you're nosing your bourbons and your wines and your whiskeys, that's why you do this, because you don't really know which nasal passage is the dominant one. Ready? Watch this. I call this rapid fire. A lot of times people say, oh, you can't taste the difference in one and the other, and blah, 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 blah. You heard all that stuff. Watch this. You're already acclimated to the Blanton's. So here's what I want you to do. Take a swig of Blanton's, put the cup, no water. Just take a swig of the Blanton's, put the cup down. Now, pick up your Sazerac Rye, take a swig of it. Boom, big difference in the taste. Put that down, take the Eagle Rare. Take a sip of it. Boom, big difference, right? And dump it into the Bourbon Cream. Take your root beer, just pour it in there. You cannot mess this up. Just dump it in there. Can't mess this one up. But only take a sip. I don't want to hear Freddie, I messed up. Just take a sip. Imagine that with a big scoop of vanilla ice cream, sitting out on the back porch with some friends, a little whipped cream, a little cherry on top. That cool? It's a friendship. And to friendship, we shall drink. We're at the end of this journey. If you bring that up online, it starts at about $35,000 a bottle. Next to that is barrel proof packing, and what looks like a crematory urn. You bring that up, it starts at about $30,000.
So what are we tasting?
Well, you have to close your eyes when I pour it. And then you got to chew on it for about 15 minutes, and then it tastes like chicken. It's like rattlesnake and all that. You chew on it and walk dark. Yeah. So anyway, so that's probably happening. And you can find they only done a few releases of that. But the wooden box is from the barrel whiskey from Mallow. Next to that is Double Eagle. Now we're getting into the world we live in. So Double Eagle is Eagle Rare, 20 years old. It's what you tasted, but it's 20 years old. And then next to that is the OFC 25. So the suggested retail, if you can find a bottle of Double Eagle, suggested retail by the time it was $2,000 a bottle. But if you bring that up online, it starts about $15,000 right now.